That reminded me of a Gloria Steinem quote that I ran across earlier this week. Gloria Steinem and Mother Superior in the same brain space is kind of fun. But she says dreaming is also another form of planning, which I really like, so I taped it and put it in my planner. So speaking of dreaming and imagining, how did it feel to be in Aspen today? Yeah? Good. Were you able to feel your roots and your connections? I hope so. I love the Aspen story. I fell in love with Aspen when I happened to be in Colorado, and I saw lots of aspen groves, and I thought they were just the most gorgeous things with their yellow silver leaves, all shimmery and glistening. They're almost glittery, which I like anything that's glittery. So I fell in love with the tree, and then I discovered this unique biology that they have of connection and unity. In my religion and ecology class back in college, incidentally, this was well before I knew I was going to be a minister. I thought I was going to be a poet, but religion and ecology class would work for both of those things. I was first exposed to the idea of deep ecology and our intimate connection to our environment. Deep ecology begins with the belief that human identity is not distinct from other life on the planet, which biologically makes sense, considering that we are of the same materials. But more significantly, that non-human nature has inherent life of its own and is not here solely for the use of humanity. There's a lot more to deep ecology, but I'm going to package that and save it for another day. And I love that I can do that now. When I was preparing this, I was like, I have so much to say about deep ecology, but it doesn't fit. Oh, I can do that another time. It was great. It was a beautiful moment. So I'll save that for another time, except to say briefly, we do not simply live on this planet, but this planet also lives in us. So I find the metaphorical connections between things like ecological systems and human systems to be a little bit more than merely figurative. Those of you I've talked to a lot in the past month might recall that I sometimes refer to the congregation as an organism. And if you were wondering why, I'm sure you were all wondering why. Well, this is why. Because I think that ecological systems and human systems, we can learn a lot. Well, I don't know if we can learn a lot from each other, but we can certainly learn a lot from the study of ecological systems. I do think it's also worth noting that this way of populating, of repopulating that we see in the aspen grove, the same growth phenomenon can be found in both certain types of fungus, which is why mushrooms keep popping up in your backyard after you get rid of them, and also in crabgrass, which pops back up for the same reasons. But you don't really see a lot of people talking about the crabgrass fungus metaphor. You hear them talking about the aspen. So there are lots of ecological systems, I guess is the point. And they all work in very different ways, even though they have a lot of similar growth strategies. So let's accept, at least for the next 10 minutes, that drawing connections between human and ecological systems is not just a figurative exercise. Just give me 10 minutes of suspension of disbelief. And one of the things that we can learn from organic systems is that organic systems are neutral. They are not operating out of some greater motive or an intent to create a certain effect. Organic systems do what they do. And in the case of aspen, it's gorgeous. If you're my friend Greg, the fungus, otherwise known as mushrooms, is gorgeous as well. I'll have to have Greg come down to Houston sometime and give you his oeuvre on the beauty of mushrooms and his love of chicken farming. He's a great guy. So sometimes things are gorgeous to one and maybe not to another. If you maintain a lawn, as many of us who live in the woodlands find ourselves required to do, perhaps crabgrass is considered less gorgeous. but the crabgrass doesn't care. Organic systems are neutral. Biological systems do what they will do. And it's not always gorgeous. It can be without mercy, judgment, or consideration of the harm going about its business does to humans. I do not imagine cancer cells have much choice in the matter. Growing is all they know, and we are stricken with their collateral damage. But the cancer cell doesn't care either. It does what it does. Systems are neutral, but we are not. We are not caught in a biological imperative. Except that we kind of are, but I think I'm gonna leave the question of free will, illusion, or reality, I'm gonna put it in my for another day box as well. But we are not bound by the same biological imperatives that an aspen is, or a fungus is, or that a cancer cell is. We have agency, we have choice. And to stretch the metaphor that we're working with here, we can make choices that turn our human systems into something like an aspen, grow. We can also make choices that turn our human systems into something like crabgrass, or given enough time and resources, we can even turn our systems into something that works more like cancer than like human interaction. Reality is, of course, less simple than this. We don't just make a choice. I want to be like an aspen. Poof, you're like an aspen. Some of the human systems we choose to inhabit, like this one here at Northwoods, we choose to inhabit. I think we have a little bit more say in how we inhabit them. But some we don't choose. Our family, our class, our race, our nationality, our culture, the places that we grew up, and the things that have shaped us, for example, those are not choices that we can't opt out of those things. But we do have choices about how we want to be in those systems, even the systems that we didn't choose or might not want to be in. Not unlimited choices, of course, but still we have choices. Unfortunately, we are inside the systems that we are a part of. So it's hard to see things as clearly as we like. Our perspective is limited to the perspective that we have. We cannot have a 360-degree view. Just as when you're in a room, you can't see every wall that's in the room at the same time. Try it. Try and see all 4 walls of this room at the exact same time. You can't do it. There's always something outside of your perspective that you may not know. And in a room, you know that there's a wall behind you, usually. But in these more complicated systems, there are parts of them that we don't know. And I make this point, I guess if you had a mirror, maybe you could see all 4 walls, but then you're not seeing the wall, you're seeing a reflection of the wall. Were you guys just thinking that? Yeah. I knew somebody out there would be like, if you had a mirror. But you're still only seeing the reflection of that wall. And if that mirror is warped, it might warp the vision of what you can't see for yourself, right? And the reason I make this point is, since we can't ever possess the whole picture of these complex human systems that we inhabit, friends, family, workmates, individual relationships, our home environment, this church, our city, our state, our nation, our world, you get the idea. Because we can't possess the whole picture, none of us are ever going to get it right. Not the first time, and certainly not every time. Not even me. But we keep on trying. We keep on learning and changing and loving and forgiving and resisting. We keep being open to growth. And these are the choices that we make, and these are the choices that make us. We are people who keep trying, and we keep trying together. One of my very favorite quotes comes from Robert Henry, I'm not really sure. He was an American painter and teacher, and he was a leading figure in the Ashcan School of American Realism, all of which may or may not be of interest to you. But the quote is, and I think that it is a quote that really stands for who we are as Unitarian Universalists. Do not let the facts that things are not made for you, that conditions are not as they should be, stop you. Go on anyway. Everything depends on those who go on anyway. But I was talking about church. Or was I? So church. Sometimes it's messy. Sometimes it's hard. Often it is imperfect. But it's worth it. Does that sound familiar? Anything else in your life that you could say this about? Sometimes it's messy. Sometimes it's hard. Often it's imperfect. But it's worth it. Sounds a lot like a family, a life, falling in love, learning new things. It's worth it. And this is where we place our confidence. Maybe hard, but it's worth it. I was talking to somebody about coaching, doing life coaching the other day, and they gave me this quote that apparently, according to my internet searches, is common among the coaching world. And that quote is, "My confidence is greater than your doubt." So a coach, whether it's a life coach or a basketball coach, someone that's trying to get somebody to do something new, has to have the attitude of, my confidence is greater than your doubt. My confidence that life can be improved, my confidence that you can accomplish the thing that you are seeking is greater than the doubt you may have as my coaching mentee about your ability to accomplish the task that we have set out. Now, I'm not your coach, so I think it's a little different for us. Maybe I'm a little bit like a coach. We'll see. We'll see. It's new, right? So I think it's more apt for us to say our confidence is greater than our doubts. It's greater than our doubts, but it may not be more important than our doubts, because Lord knows there is nothing wrong with having doubts, right? Doubts are just as much a part of our life as confidence. But I do believe that the confidence that we have, that what we do together is worth it, will outlast any doubts that we have. Because I want to serve a church that looks like life. One that is sometimes messy, sometimes hard, sometimes imperfect, and sometimes beautiful, and sometimes profound, and sometimes transcendent. Sometimes all of these at once. And I think we can do that. One of our preeminent 20th century liberal theologians, James Luther Adams, you'll hear me talk about him again, but he has this wonderful quote where he says, "Church is where we practice being human." Church is where we practice being human. It's a training ground. It's a learning environment. Church is a system that we create or join voluntarily and participate in the future creation in order to connect to a deeper, more meaningful life, to explore our most burning questions, to inspire us in our lives and our work. It's a place where we can play. We can play with ideas. We can try on new understandings, all in the service of learning what exactly it means to be human. This is a place where we can test our ideas and discover new ways of being together. And we will not always get it right. But we cannot stand still either. Because just like Yellowstone, stasis is not what we were built for. but for dynamic, changing experience. More than just a congregation, this is an open-ended, ongoing, collaborative experiment, and we can only do what we can do together. And I, for one, can't wait to see what we come up with next. I want to throw out for you today a little experiment that I came up with, a little social media experiment. I posted on the Northwoods Facebook page and the Northwoods members group, and also on my own Facebook page, a picture of an aspen grove earlier this morning. So if you are moved to express your solidarity with this connected community and the truth of the aspen, that all are connected, I challenge you to make this your profile picture photo for the next 24 hours on Facebook. If you'd like to go ahead and do that now, you can. You can do that when you get home as well. And so here's my end of the challenge. Tonight, I will go to the Northwoods Facebook pages and I will see if people have changed their profile pictures. And if 40 people have changed their profile pictures, I will bring my ukulele to service tomorrow, next Sunday, and sing you a song. And that's a growing edge for me. So, my challenge to you, 40 Facebook profile picture changes, and then you will be treated to a ukulele serenade next Sunday. Go forth and experiment.